05. Thank you, Ms. Ivy, for honoring our invite to facilitate today's session. As I said earlier, to those that joined late, my name is Kosietu from the Research Capacity Development. I'll be your moderator for today's session. Please note that this workshop will be recorded and will be shared to your respective Moodle communities, as well as all other resources that will be used in this workshop for today's. Just some few ground rules. Please make sure your mic is muted. And if you do have a question, you may use a hand raise or use the chat box, and Miss Ivy and I will note your question on the chat or when you raise your hand. I will enable all your mics so that it will be easy for you. If you do have a question, just raise your hand. Once noted, you may proceed with your question. This is a information session from the library. So you will be getting information about library and how their services can benefit you as a postgraduate student or as a staff. So please make use of this platform at your level best. Thank you once again, Ms. Ivy, for honoring our session, our invitation. Just a quick intro. Ms. Ivy is a faculty librarian research at the Auckland Park Kingsway campus. So, Ms. Ivy, I think you may proceed with the session. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for that warm introduction and welcome. Good afternoon, everyone. As already introduced, I think let me put on my video for a short while so you can see that we are talking to an actual person. So my name is Ivy Sefo. I am the research support librarian at the University of Johannesburg. So what I do really at the university is to ensure that students or colleagues like yourselves do know about the support that the library offer, particularly in supporting you with your academic journey. And we do that in many ways. So for today, I am just going to give an overview of the key resources or key tips around the library. And I am going to do that by using this presentation that I have prepared. And I welcome any questions on the chat, or I don't know if the moderator will allow you to raise your hands and eventually unmute. That will be great. So I am going to stop sharing my video. And I noticed that it is only 17 of us. And before I start, I wanted to just check if some of you have already been to the library. So being to the library, maybe the library as a space that is physical across all our campuses, or maybe you have engaged with us or our resources online in some way. So just a question before we start. Are you all familiar with the library? Maybe I would like to hear something, a little bit of info from your side as well. So any volunteers, who are you? What level of study are you? Maybe what are some of the challenges that you face with regards to finding resources or using the library and so forth, so that I can try to integrate that into this session as well. And I think that way then the session is more useful or relevant. So any takers, who are you? What level of study? What are your main issues? And so forth. Anyone? So I am sharing my screen. I cannot necessarily see who has raised their hands, but maybe people can unmute or just share a bit. Anyone?
There is a chat from James. James said not yet, so
Oh,
meaning,
okay.
yeah, and then no raise of hands
Okay.
from participant.
Thank you so much, Jane.
Okay, there's a hand from Mahloma. Mahloma, you can go ahead.
Oh, thank you. Good afternoon. I have been to. Oh, maybe I should start by saying, my name is Mahloma. I'm on pre-registration for doctorate study in social work. I have been to the library in person, but it was for the meeting with my prospective supervisor. So I have been to the library. So what I will need mostly the recent research articles, which I would need from online. So I won't be needing books much.
Thank you so much, Mahloma, for sharing that.
Thank you.
So seeing that you're new, so you are definitely in the right session. So I do hope that you find the session useful, and I will be sure to cover your issue around finding recent articles. Is it Reverend Thompson Dube? Over to you. So I saw a hand from Rev Thompson Dube, or the hand has been lowered.
No, it's still up. Thompson, you may go ahead.
Okay, maybe there's some issues with audio. Okay.
Oh,
Thank you. So thank you so much for sharing that info, Mahloma, and
Oh, okay. There it comes. Sorry, I was unable to unmute myself.
no worries.
Okay.
Thank you.
I am Thompson Dube, and I'm also on pre-registration for my PhD in education. I also would really desire a lot of online material in the subject area. Yes. Also, I know probably we'll cover it up when it comes to citations. What citations do we use for UJ? Something like that. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you so much for sharing that. I will definitely share some insights on how to get hold of some online material, and also on what is the requirement when it comes to referencing. So let me start by just saying that I decided to title the presentation for today, The Ultimate Guide to the UJ Library, Key Facts and Tips. It is an adapted presentation. I initially used to go with this title, Top 10 Things You Need to Know About the Library, particularly for students that are new or pre-registered, like most of you are. But then so as I was preparing for the session, I thought that, oh my gosh, all of a sudden we have more than 10 things to share because there's new resources, new this and that. So, and then I ended up with an odd number that I did not really like. Top 10. I think it sounded very nice when you say top 10, but then I ended up with an odd number, and I decided to just stick to the ultimate guide to the UJ library, because then that allows me to bring in as many things as I want. So yes, so there is my email address as well if you would like to be in touch with me after the session if you need more clarity and so forth. You are more than welcome to do so. So I am going to proceed. I guess this opens my camera, so I'm just going to use this way of moving my slides. So I thought that I should just start by outlining how we as the library support learning and research at UJ. So one of the very key things that we do as the library is that we really prioritize providing you with easy access to the variety of information sources that we have. So we really take that seriously, especially in your context as postgraduates. We know that you are not always on campus. We know that online access, as most of you have already mentioned, is really important. So as you start engaging with the library, as you start visiting our website, you will see that most of our resources are really online. Online and well, with practice and with a little bit of getting used to, we do think that our resources are also, you know, we can find them and use them with ease. So the other thing that we do is that we also have a lot of services that are on offer, and these services are designed to be comprehensive and to cater for a wide range of user needs. The last thing that I wanted to share here, and this is really central to our mission also as the library, is that we do integrate our resources and services directly into academic programs. So we have many ways of positioning ourselves as the library, and also the vast collection of resources that we have into the academic offerings at the university. And this ensures that we as the library are we are an integral part of your journey. So just a little bit about us and who we are. So I have to somehow keep on doing this to move my slide. So the number one thing that I wanted you to know for today was that, or is that across all the 4 libraries, so we have 4 libraries, one in here at the Kingsway campus, Banting Road, Doornfontein, and the Soweto campus. Within these libraries, we have a specific areas within the library that are mainly dedicated to our postgraduate students. So these are spaces that are isolated from the busy part of the library. And when you do visit these spaces, you will see that they are slightly different because from the undergraduate spaces, in the sense that, you know, in some of these areas we have a bit of soft sitting, we have a bit of a more formal look that is really meant for a postgraduate student. And within these spaces as well, we have meeting rooms that can be used to join online meetings. And we see that a lot of supervisors also come to these spaces to have meetings with their students and so forth. At the Kingsway campus, we also have a rooms that are specifically dedicated for holding little discussions. So I know that most of you are probably masters or PhD students, but we do cater for honor students as well, or students that are doing masters by coursework as well. So oftentimes these students do need to work in groups. So then we provide them with that space where they can work collaboratively. So in the research commons, we also have computers that you can use. You can use the computers for 2 hours at a time because they are quite busy, these spaces. But you are more than welcome also to bring your computer, and you can connect to the Wi-Fi from here. And that is a space that I am also stationed. So should you struggle to with anything at all when in the library, there's a librarian that can assist you. So those are the research spaces that we have. The research commons, we call them the research commons spaces. And of course, access is controlled. So we ensure that only postgraduate students can enter these spaces, and you therefore need to use your card to come into the space. So a lot of you mentioned that, or at least a few of you mentioned that you do need materials or sources that are available online. And the good thing is that we do give you online access to online resources. So all you need to do is go to our URL, which I have provided, or our webpage through that URL that I have provided at the top. And this is just a part of our landing page. But as you can see, you will be able to see to learn of a few things. But what I really wanted to highlight was that from that page, you will be able to start doing some sort of searches. So for literature. So essentially, there are sort of two categories of information sources that are really popular, depending on the subject discipline. Some masters, PhD students, researchers still use books, and I find that books are quite useful, especially when you are doing your methodology chapter, for example, where you have to elaborate on your chosen methodology, what it is all about, and why you have chosen it. So we have a lot of books on research methodology, and just traditionally, information on research methodologies is found predominantly in books than in journal articles. So if you have a little bit of a challenge understanding a certain methodology or how you can apply a specific methodology to your study, uh, I think finding a book on research methodology might assist. So we have what we call the library catalog. It is online. So this is a platform that you go to find resources that are mostly available in the library. But then from the library catalog, you will also be able to find electronic books, right? So the good thing is most of our books, though, are available online, and that is because a lot of students are not always able to come to campus, and I think it is also just convenient to find books online. So you need to start your search on the library catalog. Then we have what we call library databases, and there's lots of them. I think we have over 260 library databases. So these are online platforms, once again, that gives you access to online journals. So some of you might be familiar with databases like Science Direct, EBSCO, Taylor and Francis, the list goes on and on. So for journal articles that are available online, the best place to go to is the databases A to Z list. Then we have another feature, and you will see it when you go on our library website. It's called UJUGO. So UJUGO is a search engine of the library. So what makes it really powerful is that it searches across items that are listed in the library catalog and items that are in the library databases. So a single search finds you information from books, from journal articles, from theses and dissertations. So it's quite comprehensive, and it's quite useful, especially if you are at the beginning of your research and you want to have a nice overview of how much information is there on your topic and so forth. So it is called UJUGO, and it's available on our landing page as well. So moving right along, I also wanted to tell you that we have a number of librarians that are specifically meant to help students from the different faculties that we have. So these librarians are called faculty and information librarians. So a faculty librarian is more of a senior librarian who works very closely with the faculty in ensuring that the students in that faculty are supported. And then the information librarian works very closely with the faculty librarian. But the level of assistance and support that you will get from both will be the same, really. So faculty and information librarians do many things, but one of the things that you really should know about is that they offer one-on-one consultations. And because some of you might not be residing close to the universities, those consultations can be done online via Teams or any platform of your choice. So the one-on-one consultations are really meant to assist you when you get stuck or when you don't know how to do things, when you don't know where to begin, when you're struggling to find information that is relevant for your study. And we find that oftentimes um, it is not that there isn't information out there. Well, unless, there are exceptions though. I mean, some disciplines are not so much written about, and I think that is why we do research so that we can fill these gaps. Uh, but in most cases, really, when students come to us and are struggling to find information, most times it's because they really don't know where to go or they really don't know how to search on these online platforms that we spoke about. So the librarians really take you through the process. They share a few tips, a few skills on how do you narrow down your searches so that you can get the most relevant information fast. Because one of the things about postgraduate research is that you really cannot afford to waste time. So it's just important for you to really arm yourself with the right skills so that you don't waste time going there and not really knowing how to find your way and so forth. So the librarian help you in that regard. So one-on-one consultations, but we also offer lots of group trainings as well. So in our group trainings, we will have a hands-on session. But they are mostly online, but then there are also sessions that are held on campus in our training room. So we go into certain platforms and we show you how you can search, how you narrow down your searches, and so forth. And in a group training session, of course, there will be students from many faculties or disciplines. So you also get to see what other students are struggling with based on their questions and so forth. But you also get to to interact with the other students and know who the other students are and so forth, which is quite nice. Um, so how you get in contact with your librarian, I will just address that as I proceed with my slides. But for a one-on-one consultation, you will just need to reach out and ask for an appointment so they know that at a certain time they need to join a Teams call and so forth. For group training, you need to be on the lookout for uh, information about the kind of group trainings that are conducted. Right. So um, I thought that I should also just mention a few things about the importance of thesis and dissertations. So I'm going a little bit into the resources that we offer, some of the most important thesis and dissertation resources that we offer. So considering that some of you are at pre-registration, so this is where you need to find a topic, this is where you need to get a good sense of what has been out there, who are are there any researchers who have done similar work? What did they find? What methodologies did they use? What did they look at in their literature review or in their background and so forth? So thesis and dissertations really, I think they are really good for helping you to find an angle from which you can do your research. And on the slide, you can see the many benefits from 1 to 7 of using the different or of using the different thesis and dissertations that we have. So most students also, I think if we look at number 6, they struggle with how to start writing. And I think the postgraduate school also offers a lot of sessions on how to write and so forth. So going through a completed thesis and dissertation will also give you a sense of how to write, particularly in your discipline. But also you can imagine also if you were to find a thesis or a dissertation that your supervisor supervised, I think you already have some. You will already get some information on how they do things, what they expect, because they have supervised this work. So you get a sense of what they are all about and how you can approach your study as well. So at the library, we have what we call the UJ Institutional Repository. So this is a platform that gives you access to the theses and dissertations that are completed here at the University of Johannesburg. And this is across all the faculties that we have. So you will get all those dissertations there. And ProQuest thesis and dissertations gives you access to thesis and dissertations that were completed from institutions that are not in South Africa. So these are international thesis and dissertations, which can also be very helpful. So when I share the slides, you will be able to actually go into these links, just so it's easy for you. You can go into these links and start exploring what is out there. Then we also
Sorry, Miss Ivy. I think James has a question. His hand has been up for long. Can
Oh,
we?
yes, sure. Yeah.
Yeah. James, you can go ahead if you do have a question.
Sorry. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm just using phone, and somehow I might have tapped on the icon. Otherwise, and sorry, I didn't have any.
Just when I was getting excited that you have a question.
No.
Okay, maybe later.
Yeah, it's raining heavily this side.
Oh.
Kind of affecting me. So.
Oh, the signal. Okay.
It up here.
Okay. Thank you, James.
All
right. So we also have what we call research data repository. So research data is a new field. Well, not necessarily new, but it became very popular, research data management, at least in this context. I think 5 years ago. So research data simply speaks to the idea or the practice of making your data sets available in our repository, right? So why would you want to make your data sets available? You would want to make them available so that you can get cited on that. That's number one. So established researchers do get citations once they make their research data set available. But the other thing or the other benefit is that your research data can benefit other researchers as well. So they could look into your data set and already find other themes, other trends that you were not necessarily looking at. So your research data set can really help to ignite new research and so forth. And it is that idea that sort of made this practice popular and something that is very key for research and for researchers as well. So at UJ, we do have a research data repository, and once again, it is hyperlinked. So when you go in there, you would see the different kinds of data sets that we have, who was responsible for those data sets. And what is also quite nice is that you will also get a link. The data sets are linked to the full study as well. So if it's data sets from a research article, which is available freely, you will be able to find the full article as well. So that is the research data repository. Then I spoke about the librarians earlier on, and the librarians have created what we call the LibGuides. So when you go onto our library webpage and you go more to the right, you will see that there's a link that says library guides, right? So library guides are guides, online guides that really gives you specific information pertaining to your specific area of study. So you have LibGuides that are meant for all the faculties. So in this case, for the example, I have used the LibGuide that is created by the librarian from the College of Business. So on a LibGuide, you are going to get information on what databases you should use. So earlier on, I mentioned that we have over 260 databases, and as colleagues that are pre-registered, you probably need some sort of guidance. Okay, where do I start? Where do I find these databases? Which databases are more suited for my subject discipline and so forth? So the LibGuides address those questions, because then this librarian, Mr. Madumela Mofokeng, would have linked or listed all the databases that this is an accounting guide. So all the databases that the students from accounting will need, right? And then if you look at the tabs, you can see that he links to dissertations and theses. He links to research management tools. He links to referencing and citation, plagiarism and copyright. So it goes on and on, new books and even training. So the best thing that you at least for now, you do need to get a sense of who your librarian is, and also find their LibGuides, because from those LibGuides, you are going to get a lot of guidance, at least to get you started. And when you struggle, you can then sort of connect with the librarian. And the information, contact information, email, telephone numbers are given on this LibGuide as well, right? Then we also have tools, or a tool that can help you to organize your references. You know, as you find your references, you need to have a systematic way of saving these articles or references that you are finding, or resources that you are finding. So EndNote is the tool that we are using at the library at the moment. We started with this tool in Feb this year. So it is fairly new for the university. So it serves two purposes. One, you can store your three purposes. One, you can store your sources on the platform. Two, you can, so it integrates with Microsoft Word. So you can use the references, or the references that you save on EndNote. You can use them as you write your thesis or your dissertation, you will be able to get into EndNote and put a citation where it's supposed to go. And lastly, as you insert your citations, a list of references is automatically being created for you at the end of your document or at the bottom of your document. So that is fantastic. There is a lot of how-to videos on YouTube on using EndNote, but as a library, EndNote 21. So we are on EndNote 21. If you need to find a video on YouTube, it's called EndNote 21. The version that we are on is the latest version, EndNote 21. But we also have on the library website, you will see that we have created as the library what we call the EndNote guide. And so when you go to the landing page, right at the top of the library's webpage, you are going to see this banner and you are going to see this button that says EndNote guide. So when you click on the guide, you're going to get useful information on how do you actually get to download EndNote. So I can just tell you now that you download EndNote from the student portal from ULink, and we have outlined the steps on how to download, how to register an account on EndNote, how to get the online version of EndNote. So there's two versions, or there's two parts to EndNote. There's the desktop application, which stays on your device, but then there's the web version, which is online and which serves more like a backup. So especially if for some reason, say your computer crashes, so what you have on your desktop is also backed up online, so you would not lose your library of references. But also, if for some reason you are traveling and you do not have the computer that you normally work on, you can still continue using EndNote by logging into the online version. And the online version and the desktop version can be synced, so you can update the desktop version to implement the changes that you did when you were working online. So the EndNote guide will certainly give you a lot more information on how to install, how to start building your library of references on EndNote, how to get UJ Harvard. Someone was wanted to know about I think it was Thompson Dube, who wanted to know about what is acceptable, what is the referencing style at UJ. So essentially, the referencing style is determined by the faculty, right? But we know that there's three mostly used styles at UJ are UJ Harvard, which is used by most faculties really. So it's the most used style. There's a style that is called UJ Harvard. And UJ Harvard is customized for UJ. So Harvard is a style that there's no standard to Harvard. So universities worldwide can customize to suit their own needs. So if your faculty says that you must use UJ Harvard, just make sure that you get the template form for the UJ Harvard, which is also available from the library's website, but also it is built into EndNote as well, right? So that's UJ Harvard. Then other faculties use APA 7th edition, right? We also give guidelines on the library's webpage on how to, we have a template that you can use, but also APA 7th is integrated into EndNote as well, right? So as you write, you also need to be able to pick up when EndNote missed a comma or when it missed a full stop. Hence, we have these templates online. So an EndNote will miss a comma or a full stop because in most cases, because when you saved your article on there, or when you got an article directly from Google Scholar or from a library database, because you can do that at the click of a button. It just is, we call it exporting. When you export automatically, sometimes some information is lost. So it is our responsibility at the end of the day to check that what we have on EndNote is correct, because then if it's not correct, EndNote will not correct it for you. So it is important for us to familiarize ourselves with how it's actually done. How do we reference Harvard style? How do we reference APA 7? So that you are able to sort of pick up when something is wrong. So yes, so while we are here, sorry, I wanted to talk about what you are going to see when you are on the library's website as well. You will note that we have this link that says training and videos. This is not necessarily training on EndNote, but it's just general training. So most of the things that I spoke about, for example, EndNote, we do offer trainings on EndNote. We have 2-hour sessions where we take you through EndNote and so forth. So if you go to trainings and videos, you are going to see two things. You're going to see our schedule of training, monthly, weekly trainings that we do, and you can register from there. When you go further down on that page to videos, you are going to see video tutorials that we have prepared. For example, how do you search the library catalog? How do you use ebooks and so forth? So these are videos that you can watch as you familiarize yourself with the UJ library. Right. Now, when you start using the library databases, I think that this is the most important feature that most students do not really know about. So I forgot who it was, but I think it might have been Mahloma who said that, and someone else, they needed to know of the recent research articles. So when you do your academic study, whether it's a master's or a PhD, it carries on for a number of years. And it is important for you to know, to stay updated on what is new, right? So there's a feature on our library databases, most of them, that allows you. So this is a screenshot from a library database that is called EBSCOhost. So this feature allows you to create alerts. So you can specify the keywords that are important or central to your research. So in this case, someone is doing research on how laser therapy can be used to treat cancer in children. So their keywords would then be laser therapy, cancer treatment, and children. So you specify all those important keywords, then you create an alert. So as you go on with this process, you will be asked to put in your email address. So this is the email address that these alerts will be sent to. You need to set the frequency. So in these online databases, right, we always get new volumes of journals, new editions of journals, new editions of books, new this and that, new information. So when you set a research alert, you are essentially instructing the database to just let you know when something new is made available on this database. So when there's a new research article, you can set that alert. When sometimes, depending on the nature of your study as well, you will see that you will get to a point where you know who the important scholars are in your field. You know, there's always that 1 or 2 or 3 or more people that you really want to keep your eye on. You cannot complete your study if you have not referenced this thing. Your supervisor, your supervisor is not going to accept it. They just look at your references and they know that for this study, for this topic, you need to have referenced at least these 2 people. So you can also set an alert, an author alert as well. So You can set the frequency, you can set that you want the information that is sent to you to be within the last 3 months, to be within the last year, or to be within the last month or so. So there are many options. So please, when you start exploring, please do remember to enable research alerts as well. Then as the library, I think it is maybe before I get to what we do, but maybe seeing that for most masters and PhDs, you do need to publish at least a paper, if not two. So when you publish your paper, you need to, of course, before you even start publish it, you need to decide on what journal are you going to be publishing in and so forth. But at UJ, there are journals that are, and really at most universities, there are journals that are acknowledged by the university. Acknowledged in the sense that, so you will hear of the word accredited journals. So these are journals that the university will acknowledge publication in. Acknowledge in the sense that at the university there is the system that allows the university to subsidize articles that are published, right? So you just need to ensure that you do publish in journals that are acknowledged by the university. So we do when you get to that point, just remember to send your librarian an email and ask for the librarian to share that list of accredited journal. It has been removed from the website at this stage because the website that hosted the accredited journal list is being revamped. So there are colleagues at faculties that are called faculty officers. So if you know who your faculty officer is, you can contact the person, otherwise contact the librarian. And if you contacted me today and I gave you the list, right? And then you want to publish next year, you do need to actually contact me again, because the list does not, it's not a fixed list. Some journals can be removed from the list because they failed to keep to certain standards. So journals that we publish in are also evaluated, they are assessed, and if they are in this unfortunate position that they are seen as not being or as not being of the required standard, they can unfortunately be retracted from this list. So you just need to make sure that you are always using the current version of the list. The best way to do that is just reach out to someone in the faculty, ask your supervisor, or ask a librarian, right? So the other thing that is also important to note with regards to publishing is that there are different kinds of, so journals are also ranked. So you will have a Q1 journal, a Q2 journal, that is the language that is used, a Q3, a Q4. All of that is just based on the number of citations or the number of publications that are submitted to this journal within a certain time frame. But most importantly, the number of citations that the articles that are published in these journals receive. So high impact journals then would be journals that are cited more. So the articles that are published in those articles are cited more and so forth. But of course, the researchers or scholars would argue that when you have published an article, whether it's in a high impact journal or not, what really makes your article to get citations is if you share information on what you're doing. So we have sessions on improving the impact of your research and so forth, because it just does not end with publishing in a high impact journal, but how you promote yourself also as a scholar and so forth. So what I'm trying to emphasize here is that high impact journals might not necessarily guarantee citations on your end. You do need to promote your work as well, go to conferences and so forth, share on LinkedIn and that. But also, we also have what we call open access publishing journals or open access journals. So these are journals that really do not charge readers for their content. They are journals that are just readily available for anyone. So this is why when you go to Google, you are able to find articles that you can use for your study, or when you go to Google Scholar. So this is because more and more scholars are publishing in this open access journal, and there is a linked benefit to that. Open access also helps to promote visibility, so research is easily available, it can be easily discovered and so forth. So we offer advice if you are not sure which open access to publish in, because oftentimes people do not trust open access, and that is because of, I don't know if you have heard of predatory journals. So these journals, maybe they will send you an email saying, I have come across your master's study, that time you are a postdoc or a PhD student, and we think that you would make a significant contribution to our journal, therefore we would like for you to submit a journal. So for in most circumstances, journals do not do that. It's the other way around, where you submit to the editors your manuscript and so forth. So be wary of those kind of invitations. So there's a whole issue around predatory publishing, publishers that are sort of aiming people, because then they are going to ask you for money before you publish and so forth. And this predatory publishing issue has escalated to also what we call predatory conferences. So you might get an email about a conference that does not exist, and you are being asked to present and so forth. So if you get an email like that, and this journal claims to be an open access journal, please check with your librarian. But if you want to genuinely publish in an open access journal as well, and you don't know which open access journals are available, please you ask a librarian. But because publishing in an open access also requires money, so we do make money available as the library to allow you to publish in an open access journal. What you do need to do though is to let your supervisor know, because this money essentially belongs to the faculty. So they decide how they want to distribute the money. The library is just an entity that manages, the payments and so forth. So if you know that you will be publishing in an open access journal and you know of the publication fee, just ask your supervisor ahead of time to check if they will be in a position to pay. So the library will then do that. Oftentimes, researchers, master's PhD students are encouraged to start creating what we call ORCID profiles, because at master's or at PhD level, chances are you might want to continue with your academic journey until you get to a point where you probably are maybe an academic or an established scholar. So one of the key things that you will be doing would be writing papers. So ORCID is a platform that allows you to it's like if you think of what Facebook does, so you have or LinkedIn or ResearchGate. So the beauty of it is that it can serve as your CV. So whoever goes into your ORCID profile would be able to see all your work, all your publications, where you have worked, if you have received or managed research projects and so forth, or you have received research grants, which grants were those, and so forth. But the best thing about ORCID is that you get like an ORCID number. So it's like an ID, it's like your research ID. So it's I think it's 11 numbers if I'm not mistaken. But if you were to get my research, my ORCID, when you click on that, so it is generated as a URL. So whoever clicks on that URL will be able to see all your publications they open within the ORCID profile. And of course, I'm sure many of you have seen your Google Scholar, have seen Google Scholar profiles as well. So if you don't know how to create a Google Scholar profile, we can also help you. And Google Scholar profiles are also used at the university. It's part of to evaluate how researchers are being cited and so forth. But also having a Google Scholar profile is also a nice way of profiling yourself. And if you have a few publications already, put them on Google Scholar, because then Google Scholar gives you these metrics on who's citing you and so forth. But it is good practice, especially if you aspire to become an academic, right? So in many instances, or in some instances, as you do your research, you might need to use some maybe a research instrument, that maybe a survey that someone created, or you might need to have access to something that is copyrighted. So we have a copyright officer. So if you are not sure about copyright permission, you can always reach out to a librarian. We have a copyright office in the library that will be able to advise you on the right or wrong use of copyright. So it could be a copyright to an image sometimes, well, or a copyright to a research instrument, or to a survey that was done. Maybe you found in someone's, like in the appendix, and then you want to use that instrument as it is. So the library will then locate the person who did that study and manage that conservation for you on your behalf. Just something useful to remember. So oftentimes,
Sorry, Miss Ivy.
yeah.
Yes, we do have a question on the chat regarding your previous slide about publication. Thompson asked, at what stage in the journey of study, PhD, does a student have to publish a paper or two? Is this determined by the supervisor, or is it a student initiative?
Thank you. I am speaking under correction, but I don't think that is the student initiative. I think it's a requirement of the university. So when you are registered and when you are allocated a supervisor, this is one of the conversations that you will have. I just don't remember whether it's one for each category of study, master's and PhD, or whether it's two for doctoral stuff, for a doctoral study, and one for a master's. I mean, it might also differ based on according to the faculty and what the faculty wants. So it always differs, but a paper is a requirement, so for both a master's and a PhD in most cases. That is. So once you have done your registration and you have been allocated a supervisor, that conversation, I'm sure, will come up, or you can just ask, at what point is this a requirement in my case, Thompson, and so forth. I hope that answers the question.
Thank you, Ms. Ivo, for that. We do have another one from Spencer. Is it possible to download online materials you are talking about?
Yes, so if it's that's a good question, and I think that I did not touch on this. Yes, so it is possible to download online material, but then there are different rules. So if you were to think of an ebook, it depends on what we call licenses. So there are different licenses, right, that we buy these um, electronic books under. So some licenses are very strict. So you will only be able to download a certain number of pages or to print a certain number of pages at a time. But in most instances, really, where it's just a 25-page or 14-page research article that you are looking for, that is not a problem. You are welcome. You can download articles. The only restriction is ebooks, especially when you want to print it, because then there's copyright laws and you cannot just print the whole book and so forth. But then we also have what we call open access books that are freely available. So you can download the whole book and so forth. But more than 80% of the time, really, you are able to download, particularly research articles. Yes.
Thank you, Ms. Ivy. I think you may proceed. We don't have any other question at the moment.
Thank you so much. So, as the UJ Library, we do our best to also give you access to all the resources that you can possibly need. You could possibly need for your study, but it is not always the case. Sometimes we simply don't have a book, whether it's in print or it's in an online format, or we simply have not bought that journal. It happens. So then we have a service that we call interlibrary loans. So this through this service, so if Thomson needs to have an article from this journal that we simply do not have access to, we can then approach with down the road and ask them to share that article with us. So we have an arrangement with all the South African universities. So we share, we exchange resources, but then we also share books. So if there's a book that you would like to use and it's available at UCT, UCT will courier that book to us and you will use it for a month and then it goes back to them. So the library facilitates all of that for you, right? So that is interlibrary loans. So, and the librarians can also assist you with that. But I just thought that to the right, these are the links also that you can sort of go to from the catalog. So this is a screenshot from the library catalog. So when on the library catalog to your right, there's this link here that says interlibrary loan service, and you can actually do your request from there. If you don't know how, reach out to your librarian. Then we have what we call intercampus loans. So because we have 4 campuses, and for example, the Soweto campus will be more for the education students. So it makes sense that we have most education at the Soweto campus. Doornfontein is more of a health sciences campus, so books on nursing and radiology will be at DFC and so forth. Law is at APK, books on law will be at Kingsley. So, but sometimes as a law student, you might need to book, depending on what you are researching on, you might need to use a book that is maybe at the Soweto campus. And if you are not in a position to get to Soweto or any of our campuses, we have what we call interlibrary, intercampus loans. So we will also get the library, get the book from the Soweto campus and bring it to this campus. We take it out on this campus, return it to this campus. This is APK. Then we will return it to the original campus. So that's intercampus and interlibrary loan. That is just caters for resources that we do not have locally at your local library, or also at an international level, we can also share. So we also supply other universities with our books. But something that is not on my, that I did not include in my slide is that if you are residing in Pretoria, for example, and the University of Pretoria is the closest to you, you just need to, and you would like to use that library, maybe you need some focused time for your research and so forth, you can use the UP library. You just need to get hold of your librarian who will give you what we call an introduction letter. This is the letter that tells that you will then take to the University of Pretoria. That tells the University of Pretoria library that, okay, Mahloma is actually a student at our student is a PhD student with faculty. Can you give him access? So just something to note. And as the user of the UP library, you will be allowed to take a certain number of books. There might be limitations. Of course, you will not be taking the number of books that you can take out will not be similar to what the UP postgraduate students can take out, because you are not their students and you are registered at UJ. So there will be limitations. There might be limitations also in terms of space. So they also have a research commons, but you might not be able to use their research commons, but find a spot just in the library and so forth. So there are limitations, but I find that it helps to sometimes go out into another library that is close to you if you cannot come to the UJ library. So something useful to remember. Then on the
Sorry, Miss Ivy. We have a question from Rogers Perry. Rogers Perry, you can unmute yourself and go ahead and ask a question.
Thank you. Thank you, Ivy, for such an informative session. So going back to the question on the ebook, where you did indicate that only certain chapters can be downloaded. So what happens if we need the book? So, and if the library doesn't have it, do we have to do that now externally to the publisher? Or example, if my prof just say he was an author for one of the chapters and I was able to get that. But this also extends now. I'm also a PhD student in the faculty. It also runs into the question for the oral submission. How do we get that ebook do we have? Yeah, I'm just curious about that.
So, well, one of the ways you can get this book is, so if it's urgent, then you can do an interlibrary. So we can find out if VCT, if any of the South African libraries has this book. And if they do not have the book, we can even do an international request. So we can, but we charge for that. So we can approach a university abroad and ask them to ship the book through to us. So there is a fee of 500 rands that you will need to pay. And oftentimes we advise that when you need to bring a book from abroad, maybe just have a conversation with a supervisor, because faculties do have like an allowance for this, especially if it's a book that is really key for your study. So they can help with that. So that is like for the short-term sort of intervention. But initially, if I think ideally, if a book is needed, it is important for the library also to consider buying the book. So what you can do then in that case is you can alert your librarian that this is the book that I would like to get. And if you like, also work with your supervisor, because then, your supervisor will also sort of be giving a stamp of approval as well. So then we do also take suggestions, recommendations from faculties, from students as well. Yes.
Thank you. We did have an incident like that a year ago,
Okay.
but we pushed for the publisher to send a copy of the book, so there was no costing involved. But it was now from an external intervention perspective, if you know what I mean. Because
Yes, I know.
library at that point wasn't able to get the book,
source it.
and then we couldn't get a point because we couldn't have a book. Yeah, it was. But I just was curious about that. But going forward, we know better now.
Yes. And
Thank you, Ivy.
publishers can also they do also give what is called a desk copy, right, to the author. So that is depending on also what format it's going to be in. So, but while we are waiting for the book to become available online, or the authors also do get what is called a desk copy. But then there is an author's copy, but we've had instances where, depending on the publisher, authors got up to 5 books or so, and then some of those books were also donated to the library as well. So the library did not necessarily have to buy them, at least at that point, because how we buy books also is informed by whether maybe more for undergrad or masters by coursework students, whether it's prescribed and so forth.
Okay.
But also because it's based on what is the niche, right? So
Yes.
and oftentimes we work with the faculty very closely to also guide us on our book selections as well.
Thank you, Ivy. You answered all of my
Okay,
thinking
it's a pleasure.
questions.
It's a pleasure. Thanks.
Okay.
Thank you, Ms. Ivy, for that. I think we do have another question that is slightly related to the previous one from Tapiwa. For the interlibrary loans, i.e. where the book is loaned from another university, is there a cost to a student, or is it for the account of the library?
It is so when it's borrowed from another university that is in South Africa, it's free for the student. But then we need to we always say to students that it is important, number one, that we stick to the conditions under which these books are exchanged. So we need to stick to the due dates. And of course, when there's a loss, then the student will need to be liable for that cost as well. And the library will sort of manage that because it is loaned out to the library, but then for Tapiwa. So Tapiwa, then if you lose that book, then we need to go into a conversation with you and ask you to replace it. And there are various ways to replace. You can so if it's an older edition, you can buy the new edition, or you can pay the cash price, and we find a way of sending that money through to that university. So yes. So long story short, if you are borrowing a book from a South African university, it's free. We do not charge, because it's part of our agreement as South African academic libraries. We do need to support each other and our students in that way. But then if we go to Harvard University, for example, then we will have to ask you to pay, because then they charge for the book will be put on a flight and or in a ship, and that takes some time. Yes.
Thank you. I think we have another question from James. I'm currently using EndNote 21, which I downloaded from Ulink. However, it doesn't have UJ Harvard referencing style. How
Yes.
can I get this style installed?
That's a very good question. So, because I said that earlier on, usually Harvard is customized. So the UNISA Harvard is different from the usual Harvard, the Wits Harvard, Stellenbosch. It goes on and on and on. So EndNote cannot cater for all these universities, right? So as librarians, when we got EndNote, we needed to create our own UJ Harvard for EndNote. So there is a separate process for getting UJ Harvard onto EndNote. And if you go to the EndNote guide that I referred to earlier, and you go to referencing, right? You will, I think that information is to your right. There are steps on how you can upload UJ Harvard onto your EndNote. So you need to go to the EndNote LibGuide, right? So the EndNote guide, when you go into the UJ Libraries landing page, right at the top, there is a tab that says EndNote Guide. Click there. When on the EndNote Guide, go to referencing, and there are instructions on how to upload UJ Harvard on your EndNote 21. If you struggle, please do let us know so we can assist you.
Thank you. You may proceed for now.
Thank you. So I just wanted to also share that we also have what we call a research navigator. So it is something that is available, a tool that is available from that URL, also available from our website. And it just gives useful tips, especially at this stage when you are starting your work. So we sort of tried to align the support that we give, but also we have linked to other divisions at the university. Um, so it has 7 destinations. You know what you will need. For example, destination 1 is for your pre-proposal stage and idea development. So we have some useful tips, and then funding, some other tips, proposal writing, doing research, publishing your research, and so forth. So it is a useful tool that, you know, will come in handy. So when you have the time, please do visit the Research Navigator. And as part of the library subscriptions, or part of the resources that we offer, we also have what we call the SAGE Project Planner. So this is a very useful tool that can help you, especially when you are stuck. So it is it has several topics that are outlined to the left, but sometimes, you know, we struggle to come up with a topic, or we struggle to do a literature review, or we struggle to develop a researchable question to what is your research design, ethics, data collection. So when you go through all these stages, you will get some really useful information. So it is a research, a project planner, in a sense that as you journey through, or as you do your proposal, or as you start this exciting journey, you know, there's sort of support that is there that will, and this tool also will help to answer or to address some of the questions that you might have. So please do try it. It's called the SAGE Project Planner. It is available on our list of databases, but like I said, I am going to share these slides as well. So it is, that link will take you to the planner. All right. So I also thought that Google Scholar and Google, so they are not products that are owned by the university, but I know that a lot of us use these Google Scholar and Google a lot, because I spoke about open access and why these tools are becoming more and more useful for research. But I just wanted to emphasize that they do not really give us access to everything, because the information that is there is limited. So you will get more on the library databases than you would get on Google or Google Scholar. So, but then sometimes students don't know what is the actual difference between Google Scholar and Google. And I thought that I should just bring it here, because you can get articles by going to Google, but then Google is more of a broader scope platform. So Google Scholar focus on scholarly literature. So when you're on Google Scholar, you do know that you are going to get scholarly literature. And those are the limitations really that I have highlighted on the slide for using Google Scholar, and the benefits for using Google, and the benefits for using Google Scholar. And I'm sure that you have seen some of these points that I have listed on the slide. But what I wanted to emphasize here is that there is nothing wrong with using Google Scholar. But then you need to strike a balance. So know when to go to Google Scholar and know when to go to the library databases, because the two really complement each other in a nice way. So like the library databases will sort of make up for what you could not find on Google on Google Scholar, right? So I always say that Google Scholar, I think it's on my next slide, should be used when you are really new to the research process. You want to get a general overview of what is out there. Maybe you want to start reading up. You want to build some ideas. You want to see, to do a scope really of literature. So for the initial stages of your research, go to Google Scholar. It's easy to use. You don't need to log in. The challenge that you might have sometimes when you're on Google Scholar is then you find this wonderful article that really speaks to what you want to do, but then you cannot access it because it's not open access. This is when now you need to remember that, oh, maybe I can find it in the library databases, and you can go to that platform that I mentioned called U2Go, because then it searches across multiple library resources at a time. And so forth. So for me, what I always say is when you need some background information on your topic, and maybe you need to narrow down your topic before going into the library databases, it's fine. Start on Google Scholar. Maybe when you are brainstorming and you need keywords or phrases that you can use for your search. Sometimes, like I said earlier, it is not that there isn't information. It's just that we're using the wrong keywords sometimes. We cannot think of alternative. What other words can I use? So you will find that when you read these articles that you might have found on Google Scholar, you will get a sense of, okay, maybe for this term I can use that, particularly because the articles that we find, this is why as you write your article, you are also expected to provide an abstract and keywords. So these are the keywords that best describe your work. So you can actually use the keywords that you find in other articles to create more literature as well. You can also go Google Scholar if you want to see what other who has cited who, because then it has that cited by feature, which is very visible. So you can just use that cited by feature to find other related articles. So just a little bit of advice there. And as a library, we have this tool which is really nice. It's called Lean Library. So it is a browser extension that is designed to actually help you when you hit a wall when on Google Scholar. So you find the perfect article. And then when you go into the full text link, you are asked to pay some euros or some pounds or dollars. Or it simply tells you that you do not have access. So that happens because Google, that information or that the full text of that article is not available on Google. So this simply means that that article is not freely available. So you would need a library, your library, to have subscribed to that journal for you to access it, right? So what Lean Library does then is when you go on a page, on a Google Scholar page, even when you go to the publisher website where this journal is hosted or where this article is hosted, the extension detects that actually this article that you are looking at, so it can read the page and it can already tell you that actually your library has access to this resource that you're looking at. So that is what the extension is designed to do. And I think the developers of the extension know that, well, we cannot really get people away from Google Scholar. I mean, it's just easy to use, it's friendly, quick. So then the developers needed to help the library to find a way of getting the students back to or researchers back to the library when they are on Google, because I mean, that is just how researchers work. They start off with Google and it's fine. So now you will be able to link to your our library subscriptions from Google Scholar through this extension that is called Lean Library. And what is nice about it is that once you have it installed, you will get this pop-up that says your library has access to the resource, and you click on a button and it opens. So I have given you a URL. You can download for many browsers. You can download for Safari. You can download for I think most people use Chrome. If you are you can download for Safari, Internet Explorer, and so forth. Let's begin library. That is all that I wanted to share with you for this afternoon. It is possible, like I said, for us to also give you more instruction on training. So in the beginning of the year, we did some training, and we called them Library 101. So the purpose was just because it was the beginning of the year, and we knew that we might be designated students that are coming from other universities or that are returning to the university after a long break. So the sessions are designed to now we go into the catalog, you do searches, you see how it works, right? And we can actually arrange for that with the postgraduate skill at some point if there is needed. Alternatively, we can any guidance on how to navigate the library. So that is all that I have to share with you for now. Hope that you found it useful. I am ready to take more questions if you have.
Thank you, Ms. Ivy. Anyone who have a question, please make use of a hand raise or a chat box. Yes, Thompson, you may go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Ivy. I learned a lot of things, a lot of stuff.
You're welcome. Need to connect myself. Yes, Thompson.
I wanted to check that there is an internet link, I think. I can't remember exactly what it is, but it's Edu something where you can access internet.
Where you can access is it EndNote?
No, not on what
Sorry,
you were.
is it EndNote?
No, it's not EndNote.
Which one?
Edu, is it Edu? You know.
Oh my God. Okay, so do I need to go back on my slides? I don't remember.
No. It's not on your presentation.
What do we do? What information do we get from that link?
It's a link. Like I want to connect. I'm traveling. I want to connect on internet.
EduRoam. Oh, EduRoam.
Yes, it's EduRoam.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
How do I get connected to that?
You know
as a
what?
student.
I guess as a student it's a little bit tricky, but you know, I might have to also maybe reach out to our IT division or assistant. And my colleague from the postgraduate school, please come in when if you know. But I think that EduRoam where would you want to use EduRoam, on campus or at another institution? When you are here.
Yes, when I'm on campus.
Okay, so when you are on campus, students use depending on which network we are using. But for I think mostly we use Wi-Fi at UJ for students.
Okay.
Yes, so that's the network that you should use. I try to connect to EduRoam sometimes, but I see that oftentimes it's not as stable as a Wi-Fi at UJ or stuff at UJ for staff members. Yes. So the best would be a Wi-Fi at UJ.
Ah, okay. No, that's fine.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for that. I don't see any other question. To add on that one, yes, they can use EduRoam, but then I don't know in terms of the stability of the network. I've tried it and it seems like it's shaky sometimes. I prefer Wi-Fi at UJ or staff at UJ if you're a staff member.
Okay.
Yes. So
Thank
then
you.
there's this one. Will EduRoam be active offsite? Active offsite? I don't think so. It's mostly when you are on campus that network.
Yes, it only works within the premises of the university, at the campus to be precise.
Yeah. So it does not look like we have any more questions.
Well, with the absence of question, thank you, Ms. Ivy, for taking your time to facilitate today's session. We really appreciate your dedication. And to our participant, thank you for attending. As I've mentioned earlier, that the resources will be shared, the presentation, as well as the recording will be shared to your respective Moodle communities. Kindly fill out the evaluation form. It's not the same form as you usually fill. It's specific for this workshop, so please do fill out the form. We will really appreciate your feedback to hear what you think about this kind of workshop. Thank you, Ms. Ivy, once again. We're looking forward to working with you in other upcoming events or workshop. Okay, we have a question from Thompson. Thompson, go ahead before we close.
It's directed to you. I missed out on the filling of the form on one of the sessions. Does it matter? It's gone.
It doesn't matter, but it's optional filling out the form, but we really encourage and urge you guys to fill it out because we use it as well to do your certificate of attendance, as well to improve our service delivery, as well as to give feedback to our facilitators for taking their time to facilitate our workshop.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much. If we do not have any other question, we may close the session. Thank you once again to everyone. Have a lovely day further. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. Wishing you all the best in your studies.
Thank you. Ms. Ivy, if you may share with me the resources, your presentation using the RCT email, or you can email to Dr. Chandra.
May I email before the end of the day, right?
Thank you so much. I would really appreciate that. Okay, thank you, everyone. Bye.